Next up, we have the Tampa Bay Rowdies, where there were some people who were really high on this team, and there were some people who were really not. This was one of the most divisive fan bases when you look at what the fans said, where the USL show ranking was sixth, the fans say fifth, but I got a lot of people. When I say a lot, one of the most common answers for this team was ninth or 10th. And the rest of them were like, actually, this team is going to finish third. So this is like no one seems to know what to make of this. Who's in, who's out? How do you make of this, John?
A lot of outs. Jordan Farr gone to DC. Cal Jennings out. Freddie Kleeman, Jordan Doherty, Bill Breno, the backup goalie, is gone. Eddie Munjoma, who picked up a ton of minutes across the defense. Damian Rivera and Ben Bender in the attacking midfield. I do like the ads. Ollie Bassett, one of the superstars of the Canadian Premiership, coming in attack. Lots of defensive help with Lawrence Wyke, Joey Skinner, Robert Castellanos. Van Kyaziel could really play center back or center mid, depending on what you need. And then Nicholas Campisi appears to be the replacement in goal for Farr.
Ryan, this is, like I said, this is a team that has been very divisive. Obviously, the way the season ended last year, you can't. What do you make of it with a hurricane displacing them? And from what Nicholas Murray said, Al Lang will be open for this home opener, which is the thing that you love to hear. But this is a team that's lost a lot. They looked pretty good in their playoff matches, and then they had to go away from home. They had to make so many changes. Can you take anything from the end of last season and apply it to this year?
I think it was just kind of a really challenging situation to have to play your final two games of the season, basically neutral site elsewhere. That really kind of threw a wrench into things. And in spite of that, they still pulled off the upset against Detroit in the first round. They took it to Charleston in the conference semifinals to lose 2-1. And I think this is at least a Tampa Bay team that is going to be really interesting to follow. I mean, they're starting the year here with Las Vegas, Tulsa, and Miami. Two of those three teams were sides who missed the playoffs from last season. And they have Charleston away from home. And then they have 6 consecutive games starting at Al Lang to go from there. I think what's going to be really interesting, and I'm going to be curious how the reaction is that knowing that you have Robbie Nielsen as your manager at the moment, who had a 41% win rate there, but then seeing that Neil Collins is back in the league with Sacramento, I'm going to be curious how he does with Republic. And if he starts doing really well, I'll be interested to see the Rowdies fan base to kind of see is like, oh, is it bad that we don't have our guy, quote unquote?
This is just kind of an in general question. Obviously, you look at this back line where you have Guillen, you have Wyke, you have Lasso, where as Nicholas Murray does mention, it just looks like they're running back 2022. And so it worked then. Let's just do it again. But obviously, Lasso's coming off of injury. So I'm looking at a lot of Castellanos, who is going to be that kind of backup guy. So I guess just kind of question for the group. If Castellanos is in, and he plays like a long ball over the top to Leo Fernandez, is it wrong if the announcer doesn't say it's a deep drive into deep left field by Castellanos?
I mean, only if there's like a national tragedy going on.
But in all seriousness, speaking of that long ball to Fernandez that Castellanos is doing, I think people have forgot how good Leo Fernandez is. And if he is healthy, how much of a game changer is he, John?
I mean, the last time the guy was healthy, he was the MVP of the league, essentially. Like, if you get that presence from Leo Fernandez, who's a player that he could play left wing back, he could play striker. Anywhere up that side, he is killer. If he's activated, if he's able to take opponents on one and has that sense of confidence and that acceleration in his legs, he is going to bend defenses out and set up Ardiaga for chances, open up more space for Ollie Bassett to create. It'll be kind of the X factor that allows Tampa Bay to genuinely push up and maybe get a home playoff game. If he's lost a step, if he's a little bit less dynamic, maybe someone else emerges, but it definitely is a hit to Tampa Bay in terms of the composition of this team and having that piece that can break down a set defense. He's really like somebody who at his peak is undeniably one of the greats of the USL. But yeah, going to be fascinating to see.
Ryan, we've already talked a little bit about players being sold for good money with Elijah Winder and Matthew Corcoran, and Nate Worth is well on his way with that. But right now, it looks like Cristosimo is going to be blocking him in the starting lineup. If you were Tampa Bay, Ryan, would you start Worth trying to make that money, or would you kind of hide him a little bit to make sure that he's healthy to get the for sure payday?
I think it's a really interesting kind of dilemma that you're looking at with both of these players, that you don't want to block a player's pathway to moving on beyond the league to getting that higher paycheck, that even if it means having to part ways with them in the summer or line up a potential future transfer, or you would want to at least give that player the opportunity. And as you were saying in the chat, that Robbie hasn't been afraid to play the youth here, so I could very well see them playing Nate Worth on the season if it does what it takes to get this team back into a home playoff contention, which I think is going to be the priority for this Rowdies team this year.
John, what are we kind of missing here? I mean, these are a lot of guys that we know. There's honestly zero question marks outside of Capisi.
Mm.
What are we missing here?
Yeah, I mean, how good can Ollie Bassett be? Like I mentioned up top, really an all Canada player when he was up there. Much more of a classic number 10, and that's going to change the way this team plays and looks when they're out there. Like Tampa Bay, when you think about that team over the past year or two, it's been the Cal Jennings striker pair with somebody, often Manuel Arteaga last season. Going to be much less of the two striker ball game this season. And if you can get kind of the dual 10 thing going with Fernandez and Bassett and really kind of have the sense of, okay, this guy's a dribbler, he's creative, defenses are going to have to try to cut him down, versus someone who's a little bit more refined in Bassett and has that complete kind of game, could be an awesome 1-2 punch that raises this team's ceiling significantly.
Any final thoughts before I read out the lineup? No? Okay, they are going with the 5-2-3, like everybody else apparently in the league, where it's going to be Capacini in net, and then going from left to right, you have Bodley on the left, Guillen, Lasso, and Wyke in the middle, Moon on the right, Cristosimo in the midfield, and Hilton as his pairing. And then on the left, you have Leo Fernandez, you have Bassett on the right, and up top, Manuel Arteaga.